a few of you guys asked, and you shall receive. This is a full breakdown on my 2026 Arctic Cat 600 RXC that I raced in this past cross-country race season. Some big distinctions right out of the gate. I run two different setups, ice Le Mans setup and a full height terrain setup, which you see right here. Let's dive right into it. Let's start at the front here. I run C&A Pro XPT skis. I usually run all black, but this year ended up going with white with the black ski tip. The XPTs are just all around great trail performance sleds, so they make sense to run them for basically everything cross-country related. I have a set of XCS skis that I've dabbled in with terrain and some ice racing setups, and they have their strengths, they also have their weaknesses depending on terrain and conditions, and I've just found the XPTs to be kind of like a set it and forget it, which is really good. I use like the stock rubbers and stock axles. Played around with using Arctic Cat's stock rubbers as well. They are a lot easier to install, the axle bolts, but I found that they had a little bit more play, so I just went back to the like stock C&A Pro ski provided dampers. I have Fox Evol Shocks here. Shock Tech, Eric Seyfarth built these for me back in 2024 when I first got the Catalyst platform. Idea with these was to have more bottom out protection. I wanted to ride harder and be able to push the sled harder because this thing is so good in the bumps. Air shocks allow that with the air chamber progressively gets ramped up more near the bottom. These are actually off of a 600 Polaris race snowcross sled. Top caps are custom so that they match basically what the stock top caps are. The Evol chamber right here is that bottom out protector. Tons of adjustment with rebound, high and low speed compression. I've been a big fan of them for specific use cases. I've tried them in endurance racing or long 100-mile cross-country races, really rough hill climb races. They're becoming more and more special use case, not kind of like an all-around like shock package. So I actually have cross-country valved shocks. These are the stock ones that came off the 2026 on the 858 because we were just doing some suspension testing on it. This, and I'll get into the rear skid in a sec, has some special valving and damping setups from 131 Racing. So Bobby Mene has been awesome in trying to find a really good setup for cross-country racing for the Catalyst chassis, and I'm super thankful he has kind of jumped on and helped me with this. This is just the Fox Float R, so it has rebound adjustment. And then this is a 150-pound spring, coil spring, that I just bought from Hyperco. There's nothing special other than the valving in this. Well, I say that, and I have the high-low speed compression adjusters. Those are just kind of like stiffer than the stock 3 positions, but way more adjustability. I'm pretty sure it's like 24 or 28 clicks. I can't remember off the top of my head. Everything else is stock here. I've got nothing special to go over with this. You might notice here, I kind of fudged taking the hood off and broke the stock latch. So I ended up snagging some like old school kind of hood clamps, rubber hood clamps, and put them on the front here just to make sure that this would stay nice and secure when racing. The stock sway bar here, it's actually disconnected for terrain. The idea there is to allow the skis to be a little bit more independent of each other when the terrain gets really rough. I say stock because we run a thicker sway bar for ice Le Mans racing that just provides more mechanical stiffness in the flat ice corners. The wrap on this is from Brap. It's actually a local Maine company. I connected with them for this season to do this custom designed wrap. It's held up very, very well, which is really cool. The only downside has been this area here, and I've already talked to Tim, the owner of Brap, about that lower part coming off. It's kind of common with lowered sleds for the lowest stickers to kind of get yanked off the sled. But there is a way, I didn't install it properly, where you can heat treat the wrap so it just like basically adheres and becomes one with the plastic. That's the type of marine grade adhesive that they have on the graphics to make sure they don't come off. I really like this design. I took some inspiration from the 2025 858 trail performance sled for like kind of this like spider webby design, and then Tim kind of jumped on with the rest of the designs, inspired the rest of it to make it seem really scattered and chaotic, but also a little bit of race performance in it. Scattered and chaotic basically defined my my race season to be blunt. All right, this thing's pretty filthy, but this is the skid that came in the 2026. Fortunately, I have a second skid off of my 2024 Catalyst, which has been, sadly, a parts sled this past season. Looking to put that back together fully over the summer, back to stock form before next season starts, which will be nice. A nice little project. If you want me to do a whole video on that, I'm more than happy to do that, kind of like a Catalyst rebuild, which will be cool. You can tell by the white rails. The white rails came on the 2026. There's a few things you've probably already spotted on this that I'll go over. Starting from the front, stock limiter straps. The shock is actually a 2-inch snowcross shock. I got this through the race department. One of the cool perks of being part of the race program is access to all sorts of parts. Requested one of these shocks through the parts order, parts department. The stock valving on it is of a snowcross sled, so incredibly stiff. This has also been serviced by Bobby Mene with valving, so way softer. I'm not a valving expert, so I can't really give you all the details on that, but it's been really cool trying a stiffer front track shock. Night and day difference from the 1.5-inch front track shock. I know some people are having issues with the front track shocks bottoming out. I was having that issue as well. Dive into kind of my fix that I did with stock valving in just a sec on the shock that's in the 26 right now. The 2-inch has been awesome in terms of bump compliance. It even worked with the Catalyst 858. I had it in the hill climb race, King of the Mountain, and just pushed that thing to the limit. It made the sled feel lighter. Those 858s feel heavy. Made it feel lighter, not like a 600, but huge improvement. Pretty cool. And it has high-low speed compression, which is cool. Underneath, you'll see the Hyfax that I'm using. These are Arctic Cat's Tiger slides. If you're familiar with DuPont's, the DuPont Teflon slides, these are just super durable in comparison to Arctic Cat's stock slides, which are just, I don't know what type of material, but they're plastic, let's just say that. And these birds are so loud out here. I wish it was winter. The rear shock here has a high-low speed compression adjuster on her. It has Bobby Mene's special valving in it as well. I actually have been testing different torsion springs as well. I'm not gonna dive into the details on that because we're still in testing, but pretty cool. We're trying kind of like different angle, different stiffness of torsion springs. It's cool to actually feel the difference, the way the rear end feels going through bumps, bump compliance, chatter bumps, stuff like that, weight transfer and all that. Moving towards the rear, I have a Billet 4-wheel kit. The wheels are kind of an upgrade over the plastic ones. They have this nice rubber outside. I've come across issues with the stock one just not holding up to really rough conditions or really tight tracks that we run in ice racing. We run super tight, banjo tight tracks. For ice racing to help with top end, the rubber wheels here just help keep the track in line and like grip. I've seen the plastic wheels actually spin, and then I'm pretty sure I've bent them too. It gets rough out there on lakes as well. It's not always perfectly flat. On the rear here, we have a Cobra Track from Camzo. These just come stock on all the RXCs. It has a 1.32 inch and a quarter track on it, but they have like these little special nubbies on the outside here, kind of make it a little taller, I guess, but it's legal when it comes to cross-country racing. These are super grippy, very soft compound track. Fantastic in the snow. With ice racing, they tend to get beat up quite a bit, especially out on the outer edge here. I've got a nice cracked one right here, for example. And they tend to not last very long, but they have very high performance. These are 1325 Gold Digger studs here. My go-to terrain stud. I run the Eliminators, 30-degree steel picks for ice racing, just for maximum penetration, but they don't last on like rocks or dirt or stuff. I mean, I can drive this on the gravel and I have absolutely no issues whatsoever. I haven't played around with a Ripsaw 2 track yet. I have one. I haven't even studded it. Maybe one day I'll toss on one of these and test it. For now, the Cobras have been solid and I absolutely love them. The carbides that I run are round bars, the race spec from Woody's Traction. This is actually a brand new pair. Part number right there, if you want to run the exact ones I run. What's really unique about these is they are a 5-bolt, which has, there's an extra one, Yeah, I have like this special tool that I use to line in and like drill an extra hole for this. The point is it just makes it a little stiffer, right? You have more stiffness from the runner through the ski, which is really important for ice racing. The round bar here, the reason why we go with a round bar is when you're on ice, there's a bunch of other ice grooves from other sleds and yourself on the track. And if you were to use like a comp bar, which is a really aggressive triangle, or even a shaper, they jump from line to line, like scratch line to scratch line. These are a little more forgiving. They kind of are a little smoother in and out of the scratch lines. And then what I'll do is I'll go between like 8-inch or 10-inch for terrain or for ice. I go as aggressive as I possibly can. Anything past 10 inches, we're starting to get into the realm of like losing top end speed. 10 inches is as far as I go. I've had really good success with them. And also what makes these race spec is there's no hard weld. So you have as much ice contact from that carbide into the ice as possible for maximum traction. This is just a kind of flap saver strap that you can get from Woody's. It was recommended from Rick Teedy because last season, the 2025 race season, I went through like 3 flaps. The snow would get super heavy and stick to the flap and end up kind of weighing it down, and then it would eventually get sucked up underneath. And then with the sharp steel picks, it would just get chewed to shreds. This thing has been great in saving my flap. I didn't have to swap a flap out once this season, so nice little add. Arctic Cat added these little brackets here that also helped create a little bit more stiffness, which probably helped as well, but I wasn't taking any chances, hence why I ended up adding the strap. Next is the handlebars. This is the Herfindahl bend handlebars. I actually just put a video on how I do my whole handlebar setup. You can find it in the Let's Go Racing playlist, where I just literally talk about this setup. I'm not going to dive too much into detail on it. It has angled bar ends, which is great for ice Le Mans racing, and I have found it to give me a ton of confidence terrain racing, and then also just even trail riding. My wife even has ridden this, and she really loves the angled bar end, even just for trail riding. Another thing I want to point out on this is the 1-inch riser from Rock Speed FX. Also, this is a bar pad that you can get from Arctic Cat instead of those plastic ones that fall off. This here is the 1-inch pivot riser from Rock Speed FX. I was really nervous running a pivot riser for cross-country racing. Usually we just use blocks. The pivot made me nervous, it would twist. But this thing has been rock solid. Rock solid, pun intended. I have had no issues with it moving, actually. The stock riser, the bars would twist or fold down if I hit something hard. These things, when you just tighten them on, they feel like they're not going anywhere, which I love. I haven't cracked any, haven't broken any. Highly, highly recommend this, even just for trail riders. And the lower, again, I go into it in my other video, but I like a lower bar. I kind of got that from Zach Herfindahl, who is a pro cross-country racer from Core Power Sport. Recommended the lower handlebar riser. I'm not going back from it. It just makes you feel way more aggressive. You can get more over the front end, and then you can leverage more muscle groups in turning the sled, so reduced fatigue, and you can kind of push harder into corners. And then I have an angled brake lever. This is also kind of like stock to Arctic Cat. It's more of stock to Hayes. The Hayes brakes come on these catalysts. I know of a lot of other racers swapping out their stock brakes to put these Hayes brakes on. They're that good. I'll dive into the rotor in just a sec, but the angled brake lever just pairs nicely with the angled bar end. You might have also noticed these wires here. I installed the heat elements a little too far apart, and they wouldn't connect with the power source, so I just had to get this little extender at Napa Auto because they kept kind of sneaking out. In my very first race, my right hand got so cold and I had no idea why, and it was just because it wasn't plugged in fully, because I could barely get it to connect. And you can just make it out in there. I have extreme duty brake rotor, thicker than the stock one, and it is fully round. It doesn't have like a star shape to it, and the point is it's just for maximum friction surface area for the brake pads to grab onto. I've just been running the kind of like, I guess you could call them like stock brake pads. They're just the extreme duty race wear pads. There are some ice Le Mans races where I've cooked through a full set of pads, which I guess is common for like terrain racing. I don't go through pads as much. which is nice. Moving on to the clutches. These are the stock Adapt clutches, and I run just the stock belt. The clutch kit that's in here is the Pro Shift clutch kit from Speed Shop Inc. It has adjustable weights with 4 positions that you just put 1 gram or like half-gram weights. The half-gram weights are super fragile, so we just stick with the 1 gram weights. Different helixes, different springs that we've been using for both, different clutch weight setups. Brady Schoenfelder from Speed Shop Inc. Kind of has like a base setting for the 600, which is a great like baseline test to go off of. A lot of guys that have been cross-country racing with this clutch setup have had good success top end on lake races, which is really cool to hear. But where you're just, you know, always chasing performance, and having the adjustability of this clutch kit has been amazing. And Brady is fully on board with trying as many helix, spring, weight setup, you know, combinations as possible to find something that works specific to my riding style, as well as the type of racing we do on lakes, which is very, very high speed racing. I run the Rocks Flex Tech handguards. The mounts are awesome. I always go with the black ones. And over the years, they've shortened up the length of the bracket, which works really well with that mid-height windshield. In previous years, I've had to like kind of cut down the windshield a little bit, but Rocks has solved all of my problems with every year, just new and improved little tweaks and updates. I absolutely love working with Rocks Speed Effects. I run their tunnel grips too, so these are the rivet on pair. Really, really aggressive. The nubs are just absolutely massive. This is what the stick on pair looks like. A lot smaller of nubs, but much easier installation wise. And they still work really, really well. But if you're looking for a ton of tunnel grip, the rivet on ones are the best. I cannot ride without tunnel grips anymore. Funny story actually, the model year 27 photo shoot, the 858 I was on, bone stock. I actually didn't even touch any of the settings on it. And there was no tunnel grips. And they're like, all right, go mobbing through this rough section. We'll get some cool shots of you. Kept almost coming off the sled multiple times because I'm like pinching the tunnel and my feet would just slide right off. Comical, funny, but also speaks very highly of how important those tunnel grips really are. All right, brand new to me this season is the SSI Belt Drive kit. You can run whatever combo gear ratio you want, top or bottom gear, because this belt tensioner here takes out all the slack, and you just use the stock belt too, which is really cool. The tensioner presses on the outside of the belt. That's basically it. You replace your OEM with this entire case. This has stock gearing in it right now. I actually have had 0 testing time on this thing. I just was able to get it on and test clutch temps with it one day, which I'm gonna have a whole separate video. I just have to edit it, but it's all filmed. The perks of this, of being able to run, you know, multiple gear ratios, I'm really excited to test out more of next year. I just really had no time to get it on the sled, testing, and be competitive in races. This is the JB Products oil tank guard. They actually hooked me up with this right near the end of the season. Hence why it's not on this sled. It's going on the 2027. But anytime you roll the sled over, or if you're a backcountry guy and you're putting the sled on its side or bumping into trees, you do not want this thing snapping off. It's just gonna absolutely ruin your day, your week, or even your winter. So this, when bolted on, puts all the force into the chassis, which is really nice. Big shout out to JB Products for hooking me up with this. JB! Everything under the hood is completely bone stock, except, I lied, the fuel tune. So I bounced back and forth between the Speed Shop Inc. fuel tune and fuel tune from the factory race team. Just those guys are out testing. The factory guys from Arctic Cat, they're out racing and get data acquisition and are able to have the engineers put together more race specific fuel tune apart from stock. I know stock, people have had a lot of good success with stock as well. But, you know, we're always testing, always trying new things. I really like both fuel tunes. They just backfire a little bit more because there's way more fuel getting put into the engine. So when you're on a straightaway and you're just absolutely pinned and there's a hairpin corner coming up and you let off, you'll hear it sputter and backfire a little bit. you know, we have strategies to blip the throttle to prevent that from happening, but these things are meant to go fast, and we're trying to make them go fast. This is a stirrup kit. This is actually from Arctic. I'm not sure if there are other companies that make these. I'm pretty sure there are, but I've only bought, you know, 2 pairs and just move them in between sleds. Drill holes and rivet them on. When I'm braking in my sled and I don't have these on, I notice very quickly how much I need them. When I'm leaning, my foot will kind of pop out, and being able to push my feet against that for out on the outside foot for corners is super helpful. Even like high speed sweepers or kind of like very, you know, shallow angle turns, it's nice to just be able to push in. Being able to have as much control in here is awesome. I have had one instance where I came off and my foot got stuck in this, which was not fun for my knee. This bad Larry right here. When you don't have them on, your feet can fly right out, which is super convenient, especially for backcountry guys, because the mountain sleds also come with this design. The last thing we have here is the SSI Pro tank. It's 2.5 gallons more than stock. So stock's like almost 11. So this gets it closer to 13. It works really well, especially for cross-country racing. We run the clear tank so I can literally, while I'm riding, look down and see physically how much fuel I have left in the tank. It's also helpful in fueling before races and during pit stops during the 100-mile race where there's a mandatory fuel stop. This thing saved me a few times. Yeah, you know, if it's filled to the brim at the beginning of the race, it's extra weight on the sled, but it's worth it to be able to push the sled harder. Fuel management is really surprising when it comes to cross-country racing, especially out on lakes. I've run out of fuel multiple times. It's another factor you have to kind of include into racing. Yeah, you want to be wide open all the time, and you can, but you might just run out of gas. That's all I got for you for this video. I've gone over basically everything on this sled that I can think of. If you saw something that I didn't talk about, mention it in the comments, and I'll either answer in the comments in detail or however I can explain it to you. Worst case is I just make a part 2 to this and I talk about things that I missed. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. If you want to see more videos like this, check it out in the playlist here. And if you want to see my more recent video, check it out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.